Hello everyone, welcome back. It's Coach Fury here, and we're today heading back into my Draft Day Sports College Basketball 2016 multiplayer sim Let's Play. Been about a week or so since we last checked in here. There's been a couple of things with the simming schedule of the league, which has meant we haven't been able to record a video for a little while. Not a lot has really happened until a couple of days ago. So let's have a look, see how we've been getting on. So when we last sort of touched base with this St John's Let's Play, we were 2 games away from finishing up the conference play, and we were sitting at 9 and 7, and we had that discussion around thinking about if we could just get one of those wins in one of those games, it might help our sort of seeding for the actual conference tournament. So let's take a look and see how we actually got on. If we scroll down to the bottom here, you can see that unfortunately, we lost both games. We were expecting 2 tough games against 2 teams that were right up there. Seton Hall right up the top, our sort of only really ranked team within our conference, and DePaul. So let's take a look at the DePaul game first. So you can see they're both very similar score lines, and it was definitely a game of 2 halves in this one. I mean, you can see there we took an early lead, but we just couldn't cope with their scoring ability in the second half of this game. And you can see here, look, when we look at the sort of the actual game itself, we didn't play too badly really. We shot okay. We just struggled with that second half really. I think probably if you look at it, the turnovers cost us 16 turnovers there, 6 from our point guard Terence Cook, which isn't great, and their shooting guard obviously win the player of the game with some stats across the board really. But not particularly a disappointing game. Just we didn't sort of manage to hold on here. We had, you can see there on the top left here, we had a lead of about 14 points at one stage, and we just couldn't hold on that second half, and it was disappointing because I felt that was the game that we needed to win really. And then we went into the Seton Hall game, obviously the team that's top of our conference, been flying all year round. They had an injury, I think, to Belair's, who played only 1 minute, but we were sort of hopeful here that despite them not having Belair's and only having Hayes, we might be able to sneak something out here, because we were quite close against them in the away fixture of this as well. In the home fixture of this as well. But going away, we struggled. It was the first half that killed us in this one, only scoring 29 points. Again, we shot fairly well, so I was quite pleased with how we played. We just didn't manage to get over the line again. If we take a look, you can see the turnovers probably killed us again with 16 turnovers here. And we, Claggett and Augustine, our sort of 2 main guys, did step up on this game, but we just didn't do enough to get over the line really, which was disappointing, but one that I wasn't expecting to win. So where does that leave us in terms of the standings and sort of our end of sort of regular season really? So you can see now we were originally 4th. DePaul obviously leapfrogged us with their win against us, and the second sort of successive loss against Seton Hall, who are the winners of the sort of standings here, has dropped us right the way back down to the middle of the pack, which is a bit disappointing. But in a positive note, it's worth saying that we had only a couple of team goals. One was to win 15 plus games and to finish in the top half of the conference. So we finished bang in the middle of the conference, I think, here, if I have a look. Probably just below middle if you look at the rankings. So unfortunately we probably have found that team goal there, but we have won 16 plus games, which is really good. But having said that, if we'd have finished with that 10 and 9 record, we'd have looked fairly strong going into 10 and 8 record, not 10 and 9 record. We'd have been sort of joint 3rd in the standings here, but unfortunately we didn't get it done. We're on the worst losing streak you can see here in the conference in the Big East here. So the positives are that we managed to win those 16 plus games. Negatives are that we're in the middle of the pack now, which means that we're going to probably have to play slightly more tournament games to actually stand any chance of getting to the finals of the Big East tournament. So let's take a little look at the tournament structure, and we'll sort of comment on that and see how that looks for us. So you can see there's all kinds of different tournaments, but obviously all we care about is the Big East. So positive note is that, you know, we're outside of this first sort of bracket really. So you know, the likes of Marquette, Creighton, Xavier, Providence have all got to play first, and we managed to just avoid that. But it just means that our first game is going to be against some really tough oppositions. You can see here we're going to be playing Villanova, who are a tough side, and I think we've lost both games we've played against them this year. Let's just take a quick look at that. Oh no, so we won the first one, and we split. So we split games. We lost away, won at home. So it's still going to be a tough one for us. I think they finished, if we look at the standings here, I think they finished, so they finished 10 and 8, so they finished, you know, really one win difference between us and them, but you can see they're coming off of a losing streak as well. But it's going to be a tough game for us, definitely. If we take a look at the conference tournament play as well, let's just have a little look and we'll sort of comment on some of the other games that are going on as well. So we'll talk about our game in a little bit later. We'll look at the scouting report and see what we think there. I know we've probably touched on it in the regular season, but we could perhaps do a little bit more detail of the Villanova roster and perhaps have to take a quick look and to see whether we need to sort of adjust our strategy to counteract that. But in terms of the other games, so you can see Seton Hall will play whoever sort of wins out of Providence and Xavier. For me, I think if Providence win that one, they stand more of a chance against Seton Hall than Xavier do, I think, in my opinion. And then they'll be playing the winners of DePaul and Butler, which I think DePaul will win that. If I had to sort of put money on it, I think they've been on a good run recently. I think they've rechanged some of their lineups a bit, and that's helped them a lot. And then interestingly, so Georgetown will play Creighton or Marquette. So both of these, I think, if I'm right, are actually human coaches. So that'll be an interesting matchup for us to watch, because if we can hopefully get through the Villanova game, then we could be playing another human coach as well. So that could be really interesting. For me, I think Seton Hall is going to go right the way through. I can't see anyone beating them. If they get Belair's back, I'm not sure when he does come back. Let's take a quick look at that. But if they get Belair's back anytime soon, then this is all over really. Let's take a little look. Okay, so he's got 18 days, so he'll probably be back towards the later end of the tournament play, which for them is going to be a real big boost. But they've still got enough talent really to get over the line before that, and I think that they're going to be the ones who we'll probably end up watching in the NCAA tournament, because I think they're going to be the one that's going to make any waves out of our conference this year in comparison to everyone else. Interestingly though, Georgetown did start quite poorly in the season, but they've obviously bounced right the way back now. So I think out of this bracket, obviously we'd love to get right the way through. It's going to be really tough for us. I think whoever wins out of us and Villanova will get that sort of run through. I think I can't see Georgetown or these guys making it right the way through. I think Georgetown match up pretty poorly against both of us in terms of Villanova and St John's, so it's going to be an interesting one to see how this plays out. And we'll catch base on this over the next sort of couple of sims really, because I think the way that the tournament scheduling works in this game is that it sort of almost runs a couple of rounds of one tournament, then runs a couple of rounds of our tournament, and you know, it's got to get through quite a lot of different conferences in college basketball. So we'll see how that matches up. Let's take a little look at the scouting report for Villanova. We've got some other things we'll talk about later on in the email as well. So if we look at the actual Villanova report card, you can see here that instantly our backcourt of Cook, Brown, Augustine looks like they're sort of outmatched against their backcourt in Murray, King and Skinner. So it's going to be an interesting one for us if we can sort of get that balanced match up. In terms of front court, I think it's going to be fairly evenly split, and looks like for some reason they have the advantage on the bench, but never too sure about that one, to be honest with you. Looking at their offensive style, we can see here that says they run a bit of a normal offensive pace, freedom to baskets, and just primarily motion offense, so just general ball movement, and they don't tend to press too much and play a bit of man to man. So let's take a look at their roster and see whether there's any sort of moves we need to make in terms of our strategy to try and counteract them. So if we go down to them here, so who have they got? So in terms of their depth chart, they're playing Murray at point guard. Let's take a little look at him. So yeah, fairly good defender, not a great ball handler, so that could be something we might want to try and exploit. So obviously preference is just shot versus drive, so possibly if we get someone on him who could steal the ball fairly well, be a bit of a hassle on him, we might get something there. Hashim King seems to be playing the shooting guard for them, so they're playing him out of position, which is interesting. 6'7" guy. Okay, I wonder if we put Augustin on him, that might balance it out a bit more. In terms of the others, we've got Skinner, Holmes and Lee. So Skinner looks like a fairly strong player, not a great rebounder, but fairly good small forward. So we might have to leave Augustin on him actually, because he could probably break out. Lee and who was the other one again? Holmes and Lee. So Holmes. Okay, so he's a fairly weak guy. We might be able to get a bit of an advantage against him. Perhaps we might want to move Claggett over to see if we can get against something going off against him. And then they've got Lee, who's again not a particularly great player. So I wonder if we move some guys around, whether that might help us here. So if we take a look at our starting rotation, so we've currently got Brown and Cook in the backcourt. So we know Cook's not a great defender, but he's generally quite a good ball handler. I might move Brown over to point guard, and then perhaps put someone else in as shooting guard. Let's do that. So I think Brown goes in at point guard. Who can we put in as shooting guard? Or do we move Lemons back up? Because we know we've commented on Lemons a little while ago that he's not particularly a great player, but he's one we might want to look at developing. Who else have we got? So got Kirk Scott, who we could perhaps give a go to. He hasn't really played many games this year though, so that'd be a bit of a gamble because we don't know what sort of output he would give us. Lemons is possible. I mean, he's probably our best fitting guy, I think. Yeah, I mean Scott's passing could be a bit of a liability in the shooting guard position. This is a tough one. It's definitely a tough one. I'm thinking that we might want to move. Do we want to move Seals up to small forward? He hasn't really got 3-point though, that's possible. It's tough. We haven't got many options really, have we? I mean, to move guys around. I mean, I'm thinking we could possibly put Butler back in. Although his rebound is so atrocious. I think we're gonna have to leave it, guys. We haven't literally got a small forward or a shooting guard who I would be comfortable putting in. I think that's genuinely the problem. I mean, the more his defense is so bad. The guy who's been coming off the bench has been McDevitt. He's not. What's his shooting percentage has been like? So he's been able to knock a fair few down from downtown. I'm just worried about Cook's defense here. That's the problem. Is that I think this could be an issue for us. As we've pointed out the past couple of games, he's turned over the ball quite a lot. He's been shooting fairly well. I think we're going to have to leave him in. Let's hope that he can get the 3 points that he thrives on and that outweighs his terrible defense. So I think we're going to have to leave it as is, which is going to be a tough one for us. Whether we can hold on or not, I don't know. But we're up against a team that's not too far from us. It's going to be a tough game, and we'll see how it plays out, guys. It could be our season over, and it could be, if it is, then it's probably down to me not thinking about the strategy and not rotating guys around for matchups. But we haven't physically got the guys on the bench who I'd be comfortable in giving minutes to, or just throwing in there in the conference game. And perhaps going forward in sort of the friendlies and things, when we start a fresh season next year, I'll have to think about rotating some guys around a little bit more, so we know what their strengths and weaknesses are more than I have now. Perhaps that's a limitation that from my coaching perspective. So if we take a look at some other news, so the players declaring for the draft, we haven't had anyone, surprise, we haven't got anyone who's really good enough for the draft, so that's fine for us. That's happy with no one sort of leaving who's leaving early, which is good. The Norton Award, which I sort of commented on a couple of times in some previous episodes, which is the award for the student athlete. So good testing scores, good studying, and good on the court ability. It's down to the final 10. We'll come back to this and sort of talk on this a little bit more when we get down to sort of the final 3 or something. But just to sort of give you an idea of some names, and I don't think there's anyone in our conference who's got through to this year. So probably shows a little bit about our strength of conference as well at the moment. So if we take a look at the polls, you can see up here that we're ranked down in 55 now. We're miles away from getting in the top 25 ranking. But if you look at the sort of the top 5 or so, it hasn't really changed a great deal this year. I mean, Connecticut and Louisville have always been 1-2 this year. The Wolverines surprisingly are up in 3rd. No sort of mention of Kentucky, who are sort of right the way down here this year. And sort of some interesting sort of college teams that I wouldn't expect to be in sort of this top half really for college basketball in particular. So Oklahoma State Cowboys, I've never heard of them. So that's an interesting one from my perspective. But you can see the only team that is really ranked from us is Seton Hall here in 21st here and 20th here. So in terms of our conference making an impact in the tournament, it's going to be really tough. Interestingly, Villanova are ranked in 25th. So obviously it's going to be a tough matchup for us. But in terms of the RPI rankings, we're ranked like almost 30 odd places behind them. So it's going to be a real difficult conference game for us, and when we come back next time, we could be talking season over, or we could be talking about going through to the next round. But it's going to be really tough. I'm not going to change the philosophies at all. I think I'm happy with all of this. I think we need to keep the pace at sort of minimum and keep the intensity up. I don't think we can zone them too much, because I think they've got some generally some quite good guys from beyond the arc. So it's going to be tough, guys. It's going to be tough. I think I'm going to end this episode here. Like I said, there's not a great deal to talk about this time, but when we come back next time, we'll see if we get through to the next round. We'll probably be talking about that. If we don't make it, then we'll probably be doing a bit of a season wrap up for us, and then the following episodes will just be some discussion on the Big East Conference tournament, and then probably looking at the NCAA tournament. And if we do get any entries into that, or I think it's called the NIT tournament in this one, whether we get through to that or not, I don't know, but we'll see. But until next time, guys, if you have any thoughts or comments, what are your thoughts about the season overall? Is there anything we could be focusing on for next season? Then chuck it in the comments section below. And if you enjoyed the video, just hit that thumbs up button as well, and the subscribe button to follow as we go along, as each episode comes up.